All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the best of Empty the Bench for 2020. Tom Albano, along with Nick Fodera and Nick Morgasen. All right, gentlemen. So now that we've reflected, well, rather replayed the episode in which all the world went to hell and all the sports leagues got canceled, let's, over the next couple of weeks, over these next couple of little mini shows, take a look back on each league's road back to I don't want to say normalcy, but just back to playing
sports.
Well, let's break it down. Since this is the first episode of individual sports, we're going to look back at a lot of interesting situations that went down with each league, and we're going to bring you some of the interviews that we did right after the pandemic. We were lucky, by the way, that we were able to find as many people as we did during this pandemic. Would you guys agree?
Correct.
Yeah, I would say that they were about as bored as we were. So it's like, okay, so I guess I'll talk to them.
So,
but still, thanks are in order to all of our guests.
Indeed. So let's start our little journey to, the road back. I think it's quite appropriate that we start with the NBA. Now, some might say, maybe we should wait a little bit till the new NBA season starts around, but I think it's only appropriate to start with the NBA, considering that the massive collapse, the sports world ending as we had known them, all started because of an incident that happened in the NBA.
Well, let's break down that situation quickly, because I'll never forget. Now, I told this to the guys before we started doing these, that I remember the exact place where I was when the whole situation with Rudy Gobert and the Utah Jazz, and like the guy said, him kind of joking around, touching the mics of the media in the press room. And then we find out that Rudy Gobert, the center for the Utah Jazz, is the first, I guess you could say, first official athlete that tested positive.
He is zero for COVID-19 in the NBA.
And the NBA, and now the Jazz game that night got canceled, if I remember correctly.
It got canned. Actually, if I remember correctly, and correct me, and if we have to look back in the archives after all this, we will. But I think they were on the court doing.
They were ready to go.
They were ready to go before that happened.
They were getting ready to lower the lights. I think they were getting ready to bring the guys out, and all of a sudden it breaks that Rudy Gobert positive COVID-19 test, and the whole world as we knew it in the sports world, including the NBA, I hate to say this, pardon my language, goes to shit.
Well, I mean, they all of a sudden realized that it was, it got real. And you know what it is? Funny that you should mention that, because an hour, I think, after that had broken, CNN had confirmed that Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson had tested positive.
That was a scary time. That
same day. And that was when the rest of America caught on. It's like, okay.
And then hours after that, maybe not even hours, Adam Silver announces that the NBA season will be put on hold. Not just put on hold, but put on hold as games are still going on.
That was a weird time, and I can reflect just from what I remember that games, I think, were actually on the court. I think one of the games was close to being at the end of the first quarter when they actually found out that Rudy Gobert was positive and that the virus was spreading, and they were trying to get to the bottom of this. And then all of a sudden, and key words that Tom just said, they put it on hold because they had no idea what the heck this coronavirus, or we didn't really know. I think they only called it COVID-19, and we didn't even know what COVID-19 was.
They had started only really identifying it.
I was gonna say, maybe, you can say what you will about government and authorities and everything, but us as the public, we were still, it was still new to us. We were still learning it. We didn't have a full grasp of exactly what it was.
But one story I will tell, just to reflect where I was and how serious this situation was. And everyone knows this. I work in the radio business for talk radio, and I'm doing a popular network program, which I'll leave the name out for purpose sake because it doesn't matter. And I'm sitting on Twitter like I always do when I did for work, and I see the news break. And then I see ESPN's got it, CNN's got it, ABC's got it. And I'm like, holy bleep. Like, what the hell is going on here?
Which is funny because I have an opposing story in which I had actually, for the first time, because if those of you who know me, I work with the media. I work, doing MMA stuff. And I had just started my new full-time job. I think I was there a month at that point. And I was just having a long day. So I said, you know what? Let me just put my phone down. Let me not pay attention to anything.
I tried to get to you. I think.
And my phone was off. What a day for me to turn my phone off and not pay attention.
That is a hell of a day.
I'll never forget. Our Twitter account was, I think, was it this account yet? I don't even remember. Was it?
Yes, it was.
It was.
Okay. So my hands hurt at the end of that night. The amount of updates that I had to put up there. Because of everything, what's happening, players getting basically summoned out of the arenas, going back on the buses, trying to figure out, do we travel back? Can we travel back? Are we all infected now? And then just to not make light of this situation, really, we find out that Gobert goes into the media room because the media doesn't know yet that it's a serious virus. He goes in, starts touch. What does he do? He literally starts like reaching out.
He waves his fingers around the air of the microphones, like something like this.
Like I think he ended up touching them at one point, and people are like, "What are you doing?" Like, and then all of a sudden we find out he's got it. Now the whole world's got it. I think Donovan Mitchell ended up getting it, and there was a whole fight that went down between the two of them. Those are the two biggest stars on that team, and in general in the NBA. And now you have stars all over the place, and that's when everything broke loose, unfortunately.
So we're going to take you on our journey through the NBA from cancellation to comeback. We're going to talk about we're going to look back on how they were angling originally to cancel the season. There were players and team execs who didn't want to go back on the court, to the season, of course, coming back with the bubble. Funny enough, we had doubts about the bubble. We had questions about the bubble, and how we end up seeing how successful that bubble is. The Lakers winning the championship, and now the NBA is going to resume. Well, not resume. It's going to start its 2020-2021 campaign December 22nd.
Let me put it this way: they rushed to get the season started again, which I don't know. You guys either agree or disagree. I don't agree with the rush of the season starting again. That's just me. And you'll get to hear it from a couple of the guys. I did some interviews on my own.
We'll give little pieces of interviews that you did with Keith Smith and with Mitch Lawrence, I believe.
Yeah, and I think we had some others along the way, like that we spoke to some generic sports people as well.
Well, you also did a whole live stream following the Lakers winning the championship.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting as well because I talk about the bubble and how people were critical, and as Nick would say, who I'm constantly critical of LeBron James, that I actually gave him some credit, believe it or not.
You ate crow.
I did, and I accept it.
Because we were all highly skeptical whether this was going to work out. But, in retrospect, taking into account all the plans that all four North American sports leagues took in trying to get back from the coronavirus, I'd say the two most successful were the NHL and the NBA.
Right. I was going to say, I think both who had the bubble ideas. I think the NHL wins out because they had no cases as compared to the NBA. The NBA had a case or two, namely one in which they were trying to get
related
buffalo wings. Yes.
Don't sugarcoat it. Don't sugarcoat it, please. It was going to a strip club and trying to and say you're getting chicken wings. Okay.
For the buffalo wings, of course.
But all right, enough chit chat. We're going to start you from day one. We spoke to somebody about the whole thing, all the way to the 2019-2020 NBA champion Lakers. So sit back, relax, and just take a listen. What the term angling that Tom was referring to came from a Washington Examiner's story saying the NBA is angling to cancel the rest of the season due to coronavirus concerns. There's a lot of issues because if they don't get back to the court, the NBA is going to lose millions upon millions upon millions of dollars.
I think every business at this rate is going to lose millions and millions of dollars.
Well, And
Yeah,
I said
we're way past that point.
I said it last week, and I'm going to say it every week until this whole thing eventually peters out and we can get back to work. I could give two craps about businesses losing money at the point of people being healthy. I want people to be healthy. I want people to make money and live, but I don't want to hear that we have to force things rather than our health.
All right, so let's talk about this a little more. So, from what we understand, because this news is kind of still in developing, it's only been less than 24 hours, but during this time that we're talking about it right now. But apparently, the NBA, Commissioner Adam Silver, the NBPA, all the players, apparently they were trying to get a deal to get back to the season. We did hear reports that Las Vegas was being looked at as a potential quarantine site where basically all the NBA games the rest of the season and playoffs could be played. But it seems like all of that negotiation is pretty much now for naught.
So it's essentially pickup basketball in one court.
Which is weird because it's like, are you going to have NBA? I'm curious if that plan, went into effect. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to have NBA TV, like, air, like, 24 hours of basketball? It's like, okay, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. it's going to be your game, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. your game. Like,
all the
I don't
networks,
know how they would do that.
you're going to have network issues. I mean, because you have ESPN, you have TNT, NBA.
Right, not just network issues, you can have scheduling issues too. You're going to make a team wait till 3 a.m. to play their game?
Well, they're not going to play 24 hours of games, but I don't know what the heck they're going to do. I mean, maybe they'll have two teams, or they'll have.
You're going to have to stretch out the season then, because do one under the normal NBA, 1 day's worth of games in 2.
Well, also you have to find regulation courts. That's another issue you're going to have to find, because it's not.
Too.
If you go to Vegas,
And you can't just go to Vegas like they usually would.
Unless they're going to. Well, actually, they have the
Summer League.
Well, no, they have the Thomas and Mack Center, I think,
Right.
in Vegas. So that
they've hosted the All-Star game before.
Yeah, so I think that's the one NBA regulated court I can think of at this point in time. But
would the Thomas and Mack Center be available?
Well, they might have to clear it out. Well, that's going to be a problem going forward for not just the NBA, but all the sports that are being postponed. There's going to be scheduling issues going forward. The NBA execs are frustrated with lack of information from league officials, and teams are pushing against reopening of facilities. And we heard an original date. This is going back to a little bit further back, that they were talking about opening the NBA practice facilities, I think, on May 8th. And now that date got pushed back. And I'll get to another issue, which is asymptomatic testing, but I'll get to that in a minute. But are they going to reopen the facilities, or are they going to push toward cancellation, which is what the report was? And I don't know if you have the tweet, Tom, but I'm going to try and the LeBron tweet.
Yeah, I have that.
Because I saw you post it on our Twitter page.
Yeah, just give me a second here.
I have it right here.
Okay.
So basically, we posted this tweet because this was all about the speculation of the NBA. So LeBron comes out and says, saw some reports about execs and agents wanting to cancel season. That's absolutely not true. Nobody I know saying anything like that. As soon as it's safe, we would like to finish our season. I'm ready and our team is ready. Nobody should be canceling anything. Now, first of all, Mr. I'm the god of NBA basketball, shut up. Shut up. I don't want to hear LeBron James's voice. I'm tired.
Technically, he is the god of the NBA, but I'm
tired of every time a report comes out, he has to be like the NBA's PR. I'm tired of it.
I think Adam Silver kind of would like him to say something.
Yeah, because Adam Silver is hiding. Adam Silver keeps saying, well, we want to come back. Okay, how are we coming back? We can't do testing. The players don't want to be sequestered. And when we get to baseball, I want to bring that up as well. But nobody wants to be sequestered away from their families. We don't have enough tests to get the players going. We talked about in the NBA, they want to do team hubs in like 3 arenas or one place in Vegas. They want to get all the teams in. And I heard a report from Brian Windhorst of ESPN over the past couple of days that they want to get 2 places to play 8 games a day, which would take 25 days with minimal days off. There's no way that this is going to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So
This is just throwing stuff up against the wall and seeing what sticks. Mr. NBA, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Your shining moment. Take it away, my boy.
Yes, so the NBA Board of Governors has approved the 22-team plan at Disney's Wide World of Sports. Now, I still question, is that we're basically playing in a bubble. Essentially, they're not going to admit it, but that's what it is. And I just, well, you know what? At least we have a sport where the 2 sides actually want to have a discussion, unlike Major League Baseball. So it seems like we might be coming back on July 31st. That's a projected date they're talking about coming back. 22 out of the 30 teams, I think it was mentioned, were coming back. I'm trying to find, because there was a list of teams that they announced, but I can't seem to find the list.
We do know that the Knicks are not one of them.
Are you sure? I thought I heard the Knicks.
No, they're only going to bring 9 teams from the East over because of
records. It's probably records, yeah.
Because of records and standings and such. So,
I still think it's funny, by the way, that apparently Adam Silver is trying to make it so that older coaches can't sit on the bench due to the virus.
Like I told you guys in a pre-show meeting, there's going to be Greg Popovich somewhere. He's going to be in a private room in some bubble with Mickey Mouse ears, trying to coach his players with a Bluetooth.
Maybe it is a small world after all.
Oh, wait a minute. That's my job. You stole that from me.
No, I'm just saying that's what he'd be saying to himself.
No, but you just
that because the Mickey Mouse ears never really fit on your head, so it would kind of look like I don't know. I don't want to.
Hey, Mr. What was I going to say? Hey, Mr. Pun over there. Where's his mute?
Oh, yes, that's right. There you go.
Thank you. Because I didn't say it for a change. He did.
I'm trying to find, by the way, the 22 teams here. But basically, the reason that there's 22 teams and only 9 of them are from the East is because of standings and records. Because now how this starts is each team will play 8 regular season games. So, yes, the regular season is going to go on even though not all the teams are going to be playing.
That's kind of messed up when I read that, by the way. I was like, okay, is this really what we're doing here? Like,
yeah, as far as I know, the updated schedule is going to push back 2021, the 2021 season too, right?
Yes.
It says NBA's tentative November 10th training camp, December 1st season opener targets for the 2020-2021 season.
Yeah. So I say, but the thing about that is like the NBA when they had the lockout of 2011, they were able to still get like half a season in and ended up having a normal off season. I think in this scenario, this can work because you start the next season December 1st to allow for off season activities. And then I'd say maybe before the 2022, no, hang on. I'm saying like the next off season may get a little, they may have to be expedited a little, but we can get back on normal track in a couple of seasons.
So what's your thoughts on the Orlando campus, first of all?
Yeah, I worked for Walt Disney World for nearly 20 years, so I am very familiar with the spot here in Florida, and I think the players they're going to be well taken care of. I think the plan is very comprehensive. When you get all the way down to playing cards will be recycled after each use, it's clear the level of thought and effort and care that went into this plan, and I agree with what Michelle Roberts said. Outside of a true hermetically sealed bubble, it's probably going to be as safe as you can make it. So I think players will be well taken care of, and I do think it's going to be as safe as it can possibly be.
So being subject to 10 or 14-day quarantines, and having to deal with all this. You mentioned playing cards being recycled. They have video games. They have lawn games. They have everything. Is this a summer camp for players, or is this actually what the NBA players were expecting?
Yeah, a bit of both, maybe. I think it would be they're kind of showing up to do some work, but they want to make sure that they're able to enjoy themselves on their downtime, which there will be some of while they're there. And I think the idea behind making sure all these other things are available to the players is because, how do I put this? Because the players can't leave, they want to make sure that they have lots to do while they're at the properties. So they want to make sure that they're well taken care of. So that's why they've added so many of the other things to make sure that these guys have plenty to do while they're on property at Walt Disney World, in addition to the minor task of playing basketball and trying to win a championship.
Do you think it's going to be difficult for some of these guys to actually comprehend being inside the bubble and having to wear the masks and dealing with all those situations?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess no. What's gonna be hard is it's extremely hot here right now in Central Florida. It's we're in the 90s every single day. By the time they get here, we'll probably be into the mid 90s, and it's extremely humid. So as a Central Florida resident myself, I don't like wearing my mask, but I do it whenever I'm out and about because that's what you should do. It's the unselfish thing to do for people. So, but yeah, as far as it goes with the players, I think they're going to understand the importance and the need to wear the mask. So I think you'll see them with the masks on, and I don't think it's going to be all that big of an issue.
Now, the issue, and I'm actually glad you brought the Mavericks and the Rockets up, because right now we're having an issue in Texas with the amount of COVID cases being up to a record amount. I think I read it was 6,000 COVID cases over the last couple of days.
Well, that's exactly where I was going to go with this, because we have a bunch of quotes from Adam Silver to go over. But when we're talking about all these issues, whether it is the Orlando bubble itself, how it's going to be worked around, the law enforcement officers are going to be used, and everything, you run into one big issue, and that is Florida, as you were saying, just like Texas, is going through a spike after they were real.
Close to 9,000 cases in the last.
It's over 9,000 now.
Over 9,000 now?
It's over 9,000
cases,
yeah.
I thought.
Yes, over 9,000 new cases in the last 24 to 48 hours.
And I don't know, and we put up some polls, and actually thank you to everybody who's been responding to our polls, because we've been getting a lot of feedback on polls we've been putting up, and it's been interesting. I think I put up a poll, I don't remember how many days ago, about are you concerned with the NBA coming back due to the amount of cases in Florida? And I think the percentages were higher saying yes, that people were concerned that the NBA are coming back. I don't know how you can do this. And I read some quotes the other day that, oh, well, we're going to put security and we're going to put the National Guard around this bubble so people can't escape. And then the other one that confused me, Tom, was the quarantine for the family members.
It's like, no matter how much I give them credit that they're trying, but is it exactly going to work? I mean, remember, you're giving the NBA players all this free access to, all the Disney parks. You're giving them the Disney chefs. So it's like when you're giving them all these amenities, I don't know if exactly that's going to work to, it's
mitigate any kind of concerns about their health.
You can't have your cake and eat it too, kind of situation.
Yeah, no. I mean, first of all, context is necessary. We probably should explain that the family members of the players need to quarantine with them for 14 days, I think, right?
Well, it originally started as once they come in, I think this was after the first round, once they get through all the seeding games, they have to quarantine for 3 days. Then they have to go outside and quarantine for 4 days and then come back in and quarantine for another 3. So there's a lot of mess.
Try to keep track of that when you're stressed about everything else. Look, it's obvious here that Adam Silver believes that he can hermetically seal this basketball complex that he's set up. But I mean, it's obvious that over the past couple of weeks, the evidence has proven that you cannot do that, especially in a state where cases are spiking crazily. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if a player gets sick?
Nick,
or if a bunch of players get sick.
I'm
What
going
are
to steal.
you gonna do then? You gonna stop?
I'm going to steal a quote from you, actually, Nick. This is purgatory. This is purgatory for the NBA because they're trying to get everybody into one large, hermetically sealed bubble to keep everybody from getting the virus. We've already seen, and I don't know if it's on our list, Tom, but there's quite a few players that have already tested positive.
Let's give some credit here to end on a happy note. The NBA is back. Play seems to be going very well. The NHL is back. You know, playoff hockey is one of the most intense things ever. Guys, there is some good here. There is some
Didn't a
good.
12 seed beat like a 3 seed yesterday or something also?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Like we're saying, there is hope somewhere. It's just not in the places where they should be. Like, you know, not in the two biggest sports in North America.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Empty the Bench, the NBA Finals post-game show. I'm Nick Morgasen, flying solo tonight. And what an NBA season it has been. The Los Angeles Lakers are the 2020 NBA champions. It's been a long fought and long, hard-fought season. Go on. The NBA did an incredible job keeping the COVID test to 0. We didn't have a breakout of COVID because they did the right thing. Roger Goodell, commissioner of the NFL, didn't do the right thing. He's still exposing all his players to COVID-19. In the NBA, Adam Silver, in my opinion, the most progressive commissioner in all of sports, understood how this situation had to be. According to Commissioner Adam Silver, the 2020-2021 season is now going to be the 2021 season only because they think they're not going to start the season until 2021. Now, you have issues in retrospect to free agency and the draft, and how are you going to get all that put together? Adam Silver is going to have to figure that out. He's, like I said, most progressive commissioner in the NBA. He usually has a response or some kind of brilliance that he comes up with. So I think he'll figure it out one way or the other. I have no doubt in my mind. He's not a Roger Goodell of the NFL who's going to F up everything that he touches, including the coronavirus situation. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that was announced officially that the NBA is not going to start its 2021 season until at least the end of January, probably. You got to give the players some day off, at least. Because you don't want the injuries. We're seeing the injuries in the NFL now due to not having training camp. They didn't get the proper training necessary. You don't want to copy the NFL and be in that same situation, because if you have injuries to your NBA dominant all-stars, you're going to see the ratings plummet. We saw major injuries, including tonight on Sunday Night Football with Dak Prescott. And now we're losing star after star after star in the NFL. So just give the guys a rest, let them recover, and just let things go naturally. If you think the NBA season needs to be pushed back, push it back. Don't force these guys back out on the court. It's not worth it. Let them have the proper recovery, and then we'll figure it out where the season needs to start and go from there. You don't want a situation where the NFL is dealing with all the schedule changes and everything that's going on. You don't want it. You don't want to deal with it. It's a headache. The NBA did an amazing job, and I'll just conclude in this regard. The Lakers, dominant. Miami Heat, dominant, just not enough.
So it was a successful experiment, I would say.
Right. It was a successful experiment. There was the one or two cases of people being stupid and trying to go in and out of the bubble, but there was really no positives.
Yeah, there was no community spread other than what was, contracted through human stupidity.
Right. So the playoffs were good. We had the warm-up tournament. You had the competition for the 8th seed, which was kind of bizarre and whatnot. But all right, so as we said, the Lakers are the champion. LeBron wins his title. AD wins his title. LeBron's the MVP. Blah 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 blah. All unicorns and rainbows. But
well, the key difference here coming up for this season is that a play-in tournament for the season is possible. The playoffs would wrap up in June in order for the NBA players to participate in the 2021 Olympics, which of course will still be in. Where were they?
Where, the Olympics?
They were in Tokyo. Yeah,
they
were in
were
Tokyo.
supposed to be in Tokyo.
And they still will be in Tokyo. So, God, it's been so long. And no bubbles, apparently. No bubbles.
Let's go back for a second, because I read some interesting news about that today, that they want to play in all the NBA arenas, but there are still some states that are not allowing fans into arenas and stadiums.
Well, because the COVID cases are way too high. So, again, it would be a public health danger in order, to allow that.
Well, actually, there was breaking news, and I don't know how this is really going to affect New York, but Governor Murphy of New Jersey came out today and said that he's adding another 30 days to that emergency ban situation.
The interstate travel ban.
Right. So how does that affect New York? How does that affect...
Yeah, when teams need to travel, which they will, well, what they would prefer, look, they apparently would like to have stricter arena protocols that would allow fans with rapid testing and better air purifiers.
Yeah, but you know how expensive that's going to be?
Again, you know how expensive, very expensive. And the technology is not quite there yet, but again, the NBA was the first documented use of some kind of new rapid testing technology. So they think they can make lightning strike 3 times. Whether that's successful remains to be seen, but there's one factor I think that we're overlooking. And that is all of these plans should be, stamped with the caveat if
right.
The coronavirus is under control, because we don't know what's going. We just hit our peak in cases again back in March, at the same level as we were back in March, and we don't know where this is going to be. A very bad winter, according to all the public health experts.
Well, you have flu season,
and you have flu season, so you don't know what this is going to be. So if I was the NBA, I really would not have come out and said that was going to be their plan. If anything, it would behoove you to at least consider doing a bubble.
Right. And there was rumors that they were...
But ironically, the MLB, who we thought was one of the more stronger unions, and then it turned out not exactly all daisies and flowers and everything. And now it seems like that's now here with the NBA. So let's give some context here. So obviously you guys touched upon this last week when I was out. The NBA was looking to start the season on December 22nd. So that way they would have their Christmas Day games and all that, and they would do a slightly reduced schedule of 72 games. That way by June, early July, the season ends. So that way the players can still partake in the Olympic Games. Well, as it turns out, now the union and all the players have other ideas. So there was another idea before that December 22nd plan came out, that the NBA would start its season. It would just be a 2021 season. 2020, that would be it, because it would start on January 18th, I believe is the official date, because it's Martin Luther King Day, another big day of NBA games on the schedule.
And there's a lot of issues now. We know the NBA, the numbers came out, I think they lost like $500 million due to where they had to pick up the season, and the bubble, I think, cost them $150 million a month.
Right. Well, all the leagues and all the team owners ended up losing a ton of money with doing the bubble.
Oh, right, because you didn't have the ticket gate sales coming in. You didn't have concessions. You didn't, which people are selling waters for $10 for really $2 and getting your profit and money. But I don't know. I mean, the NBA and the NBPA need to get on the same page, because in the NBA, the two sides are very strong. This is the one sport where the two sides can work together on certain instances, and on certain aspects they couldn't. Believe it or not, I give them a lot of credit how the two sides handled the civil unrest situation. They handled that well, because if Adam Silver and the ownership, or I don't know what you would call it, the heads of the NBA didn't get on the same page, this season would have been over because the players wouldn't have wanted to play.
Well, we always say that the NBA is it's probably the only league that is player driven. It is that the players make a lot of the say, and the commissioner and the owners, to their credit, or to some people to bad credit, they follow along. But this is going to be the situation, when it's time for the CBA agreement and when it's time for money matters, especially now with the whole bubble situation. This is where we start to see the owners in the league pretty much stomp their foot and say, no, you're going to have to listen to us to some degree.
There's one problem here, which people are not realizing. You were talking about how they're going to play a 72-game shortened season, and the whole reason to stop late June, early July is because they're hoping for participation in the Olympics. But do you really think any NBA player right now is going to participate in the Olympics?
Well, even if they do, or even if they want to or they don't, I listened in part to your conversation you and Nick had last week, and I kind of agree. 72 games in that short amount of time, because you're pretty much saying we're going to do a near full season minus 2 months that it takes us to do a near full season, plus a play-in tournament, full playoff. How are you going to be able to get done? I don't think it's possible.
It's in regard like what MLB did with 60 games. They were trying to fit in as many games as possible with
right. Little days off. I get that, but with that kind of schedule, plus training camp, if I remember correctly, you said will only be like 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, they were saying originally that training camp was going to start December 1st, but now that that's up in the air, we don't know when.
Right. No, but my point is,
it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks.
My point is, though, look at MLB, and you saw even with the shortened season all the injuries that you had. Look at the NFL right now; they had no training camp; everything was Zoom. And now look, you had stars like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, currently right now Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, a lot of the big names.
Odell
Beckham now is out for a lot of the big names are now going down with major injuries because, I have to assume you.
Right, and you alerted to what I had said about NBA stars that could go down to injury now. Excuse me. The other report that I heard is that if they had started training camp on December 1st and they were looking to project the start of the season on December 22nd, there were reports that LeBron and AD and some other stars might just sit out the first 2 weeks of the season.
It will start on December 22nd. The NBA will get its beloved Christmas Day games.
We knew that they were going to do that. They were arguing that forever.
Adam Silver was going to gnaw his own arms off before that happened. You do not take away those Christmas Day games from Adam Silver, because he will come back and burn your house down.
So here it is. So the NBPA player rep, this is from Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN. The vote was completed, approving a December 22nd start, 72-game regular season, and then they were finishing the financial terms on the amended CBA. And then, according to Shams Charania, who is the Stadium and the Athletic, said that the NBA and the NBPA are discussing a minimum of 2% annual growth in the salary cap and luxury tax for the duration of the collective bargaining agreement, and the cap is expected to be $109 million this offseason.
Which is higher than it was.
Higher than it was, yeah.
The NBA draft, as was before, will take place on November 18th. Are there any details as to when free agency will be starting? Because the training camp is going to start December 1st, as we first reported on this.
I think it was just ASAP, as soon as they can find a date. I don't think they had a date for free agency as of yet. But it has to be before December 1st, obviously.
Did they mention anything about bubbles?
No bubbles. They're going back to stadiums, and I think they're going 25 to 50% capacity.
25 to 50% capacity. I don't have the details. I just
lost them. You better use that rapid test.
I was going to say, there will be testing in the arenas. All fans must wear masks, and obviously because of the shorter percentages of fans, social distancing measures must be in place.
Well, you'll have the same rules. So, like, if you have food and drink, I guess you pull the mask down. You can eat the food and drink the drink, whatever. And then when you're not, put the mask back up.
What the social distancing measures are.
You'll probably have 4 or 5 seats between each person.
Yeah. Conceptually, supposed to prevent.
The thing I don't get.
But remember, guys, that's also depends on what's going on, on the state levels, because certain states might have this different,
Yeah,
rules
they do.
I think they're
Well-
using the suites also as social distancing.
Yeah, the suites will be used as social
Well,
distancing.
depending on what happens in January, I mean, if we get a national mandate, because we're going to have an incoming administration. Again, there's a lot up in the air, so we're not really sure.
I was gonna say, well, I think the NBA is going to. I think it even said in the report by mid-July at the most get to end the season because of the Olympics. Now, obviously, we don't know what the Olympics is going to be, but I think the NBA wants to have that plan in place in case that there is an Olympic Games.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be an Olympics, just to be quite honest with you.
I don't think so either. But
Players were none too happy about this, right?
correct. Now that's the thing. That's correct. The players were not happy, but the player union representatives. Remember when I said that the MLB situation from this season affected here? Here it is again, where the player union representatives are talking about the deal, but the players themselves are not happy, it seems, if you correct me if I'm wrong on this, Nick, with their own union.
Well,
So who are these Peckerwoods representing, if not the players?
what's a little bit controversial in the sense is that the player reps obviously represent each team, but a lot of times you're going to get guys of the different teams
Oh,
that are not going to agree on certain aspects
kind of like an elected delegate.
in that sense. But what we're missing here, and I was going to bring it up a minute ago, is how is the annual growth in the salary cap and the luxury tax going up when there were no fan gate tickets
I mean,
coming
you
in?
have MLB
I guess
basically.
they wanted to invest what they got in the TV contracts.
Maybe.
Yeah, but there was no money to be made. So how can TV contract money really be?
Was there money to be made? Do you know that?
I don't think.
Of course, this is all a relative term because the NBA should not be crying poverty when they're a multi-billion-dollar organization.
Well, do you see any possible issues only having 8 days for the preseason with injuries and that sort?
Yeah, there'll probably be some stuff. And you know what? It's not, did the NFL even have a preseason? I don't think the NFL had a preseason, right? They didn't. They just started to play. So you're going to get injuries. You're going to get, that could arise. That's part of the deal. You're not going to get, when the season opens, is it going to be the best you're going to see out of these teams? No, especially the teams that have new coaches, new players, new rotations. It's going to be, it's not going to be looking good. You always, in these situations, I remember back to the last lockout in 2011-12, they played, the 66-game season. And the teams, it seemed like the teams that kept the core of their players together, kept the coaching staff, those are the teams that get off to good, those are the teams that you look for to get off to good starts because they're looking, they're playing together. Like a team like Denver, a team like the Lakers, teams that aren't going to have major big-time changes. The teams that are going to have new, like Milwaukee, we're talking about major new pieces, Drew Holiday, Bogdanovich joining up in, forces. That could be some change there. That could always start off, all right, things will start off rough. So, yeah, I mean, nothing's ideal here. You know what? But the fact that they are playing and they've got this plan laid out, I think that's a good sign.
Do you think that Adam Silver will be willing to spend that money necessary to give the players the COVID vaccine when it becomes available?
Absolutely. I would think all professional sports are going to take care of their players. I would think that'd be at the top of the list for the unions in the various sports because your players are the guys, this makes it go. This makes it run. And so when the vaccines are available and when they're proved to be safe and effective and they can really do what they're intended to do, absolutely. I would think the league would be all over that. In addition to the testing, I would think that that's something that the league and the Players Association would want because that's the lifeblood of the sport. Players.
Do you see this all? I don't want to say, are we going to see no COVID positives, but do you see it working out as a success where the COVID positives will not, crash down on this NBA season?
Well, in these proposed schedules, don't we have a block of time in March where the league is going to be taking off for a couple of weeks?
Yes.
Right? A lot of people think that that's going to be the period where if there are games to be made up because they were previously postponed because of COVID. So it looks like the league is already thinking ahead in terms of, okay, if we have some cases, if there's an outbreak, God forbid, involving several players, we can move these games. I mean, other sports have moved games around, right? I think that if you're a sport now, you got to know that this isn't, although the schedule is always set in stone, is not set in stone. This is set in kind of like, you got to be much more flexible. So you got to set aside time to have makeup dates. So I think that's very good. As for how things are handled by players, by staffs, by coaches, who knows? It's scary looking around this country at the rate of positivity, the rate of infection. And, you have to be so careful when you go out, when I go out. This pertains, to the players, obviously. So I don't know how things are going to work out. You just have to knock on wood that they do. And take precautions, obviously, more than knocking on wood. All these players know now, no more bubble. You're out of the bubble now. You know what? You're going to be flying, right? You're going to be traveling. The hardest thing LeBron had to do last time was get on a bus to shuttle him from the hotel at Disney World over to the arena. That helped him out. Now you're getting on planes. You're going through. That's a whole different deal dealing with the real world stuff. This is now a big potential problem for LeBron.